What's up, Navigating Academia family? This is your buddy Dr. drphoenixsingh coming at you to be able to answer a valued viewer's question. Now, you guys know me. I love you to death. Please do me a huge favor and help our channel grow by hitting that thumbs up button, that like button. Doesn't cost you a cent. Helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, feel free to be able to put a little emoji below down in the comments, or if you've got a question that you'd like me to answer, please do feel free to place it there as well, and I'll do my best to be able to get back to you. Those of you who have left comments in the past know that for the most part, I really try to do my best to be able to get back to each and every one of you. So let's go ahead and get started today. If you're not subscribed, though, please do feel free to subscribe to the channel and share the entire programming of this channel with your friends, colleagues, and students. Today's question comes from Alexandra, so thank you so much, Alexandra, for your question. Alexandra's question was on a video of mine that was called Help, I Don't Have Publication Experience, in which I was answering somebody else's question. So let's go ahead and read Alexandra's question, then we'll get to it. So Alexandra's question is it necessary to get a master's, so like a master's degree, before pursuing a PhD? I know some PhD programs offer a master's program alongside it. However, I was just curious if it is needed. Alexandra, this is a great question. What you're referring to is something that is generally referred to as a terminal master's. The idea here is that, like, for example, my doctoral program was similar, where basically, you started and everybody who had been accepted into the doctoral program started as a master's student. You went through that year, 2 years of the master's, and then you ended up essentially, like for me at Oxford, like you don't actually get a master's degree. Some places, some universities, they'll actually say like, okay, your master's is completed. Now you're a doctoral candidate. For us, that wasn't the case. It literally was just, you were doing your MSc, so your master's in science, and then all of a sudden you pass your, some people would call them comps. It's like comprehensive exams, board exams, like you name them. There's something that they're called. It differs literally in every country, but there is some kind of an examination. For me in the UK, it was orals. I passed my orals, and then, or it was called transfer viva, and then when that took place, all of a sudden I went from being an MSc candidate to being a DPhil candidate. It's like a PhD candidate or a doctoral candidate. So that's what that's called. There is such a thing as doing a master's, and the master's literally is only a terminal master's. It's not part of a doctoral program. In some cases, you want to do that because maybe it's part of a feeder program, such that if you do well enough in the master's, it gives you a big leg up, or even in some cases, a guaranteed place in a doctoral program. Those are pretty rare to come across, the ones that are direct feeders, but they do exist. But obviously it's different for every field. And in your question, Alexandra, you didn't kind of specify the field that you happen to be in. So if you're in marine biology versus clinical psych versus astrophysics, it'll be different for all of these. But in general, do you 100% need a master's degree before you apply to a doctorate? The answer is no. I can tell you from personal experience, I didn't have it. For the doctoral students that I've worked with in the past, none of them have had a no, that's not true. 2 of them have had a master's degree actually in the past. But that obviously is the minority of kind of students that I've worked with have had a master's degree in the past. The reason why I recommend people get a master's degree is if either, if they've got a target program, they know the program that they want to go to. Usually people only get to this after having been rejected from all their programs, right? Or they get really smart and it's their final year of their undergraduate and they realize, uh-oh, I honestly didn't focus on this enough during my undergraduate career, or maybe only junior year I realized what I wanted to do, or maybe I'm a non-traditional student and I've been out of undergrad for 20 years, and when I was in undergrad I was an econ student, and then I went off and I did something completely different. Now I want to come back to it. That's another good reason to do a master's degree. Why? For all 3 of those. Why, right? So the first one is you need to know your target programs before you start applying anywhere, right? And this is a very in-depth process. If you want to learn exactly how to do it, just set up a one-on-one appointment with me. I will walk you through the exact process of doing this. You need to figure out who your target doctoral supervisor is. Then you're going to find out if they're taking students. If they are, what is the target actual program that faculty member is embedded within, and then there's all of these additional layers you need to take into consideration, and there's specific tasks you need to do at each one of those layers. So those of you who work with me one-on-one know that I tell you exactly what to do in terms of going through those different pieces, okay? So again, I've got a variety of sessions now that are open because I didn't used to work on the days that now I'm working. So now I've got a whole bunch of stuff open, so feel free to book. So let's go ahead and keep going here, right? So let's say that's the case, for example, grades. Once you know what the target program is, you take a look, you find out what the median GPA is, like the grade point average. You're not there. Okay, that would be a reason to be able to do a master's, to be able to boost your GPA up. A master's degree GPA does override an undergraduate GPA. So if you've got a 2.5 undergraduate GPA, you're not getting into a grad school, period. If you do, it'll not be a good grad school at all. I don't recommend doing it. I recommend doing a master's first, get yourself up to a 3.5 or above, and then we can talk, right? So like that's what I'd recommend there. Next one is test scores. If it's something where you felt really, really rushed and you need some dedicated time to be able to do nothing but study for your exams and all, right? Having that additional time and doing a master's could grant you that time. Letters of recommendation. Maybe it was something where you didn't have the 3 letters that I recommend, which are a letter that focuses on academics, a letter that focuses on in-field experience, and one that focuses on research experience. If maybe you only have one of those, or for example, maybe all 3 of them were academics, 2 of them were professors of yours, and the 3rd one was your academic supervisor. Okay, that's too much from the academic perspective. No, we don't care if your favorite professor wrote you a letter. We don't care, right? We don't know who that person is, right? So unless it's a professor who has a direct connection with the target supervisor, it doesn't mean anything if they say you're the greatest student who's ever lived, because every letter that we read from an academic should say that, and if it doesn't, then that's a problem. But it doesn't get you above anybody else. It just gets you right where everybody else is, right? So maybe you need a clinical letter and you need a research letter. Okay, maybe you want to go do the master's for 1 to 2 years, get enough experience to do that. And finally, of course, we want to make sure that you've got that clinical and research experience. If you don't have those, then doing a master's that are focused on getting you clinical or research experience can help you out a ton. But remember, those are like the 5 things that are like the baseline of applications. They don't get you into grad school. They just give you the baseline because everybody who's a serious contender is going to have those. And there are so few slots relative to the number of people who actually want to get into these programs, right? So then we need to focus on the 3 other pieces. One of them is, what is your involvement in conferences? No. Not regional conferences? No. Not local, provincial conferences? No. Not university level conferences. I'm talking about, well-known national or international conferences, especially ones that your target supervisors routinely attend. That's where we need to get your work done. Work presented. As a poster, fine if you have to. I recommend doing a paper presentation if you can get one, or even better, organizing a conference symposium and either being the discussant or having your own paper as part of that panel, okay? And if you don't have any of that, that's fine. Doing a master's maybe one way that you could go about getting that. And then publications and personal connections. My personal recommendation is that you not do a master's anywhere unless your supervisor for your master's has a very strong relationship with your target doctoral supervisor. You should know who your target doctoral supervisor is before you go and do a master's. It's my personal opinion, but it's also the thing that makes the most strategic sense. Why, for example, would you go to a school where there's no personal connections whatsoever and pay all this money and go into all the student loan debt in countries like the US, and then all of a sudden you don't even have any more personal connections than you would have had without the master's? It doesn't make any sense, right? So you need to work it backwards always. And like I say, if you need one-on-one help with it, just book a session, let's talk about it, okay? So that's that. The next one, right, is publications. It is so hard to be able to get publications as an undergrad. Of course, it's still hard to get them as a graduate student. Your whole life, it'll be hard to be able to get publications because, other people are peer reviewing your work and they're going to say, either yay or nay to your different publications. So it's something where even the most talented individuals get pieces, revise and resubmit, get pieces, reject all the time, not just a few times, all the time, okay? It's just like in baseball, where like the best RBIs you can get, right, are, what is it, like 0.3, or sorry, batting averages, not RBI. The best batting averages you can get are like 0.3. It's like 3 out of 10, 30%, right? So if you can get pieces accepted 30% of the time, you're like a golden god in academia, right? So that's what I would say. But those are the reasons why you should do a master's degree, right? If you've already got all those things If you have them already, no, you definitely do not need to do a master's. If you have a weak spot amongst any of those places, then yeah, you may want to consider doing a master's degree. If you've got a really bad GPA and who knows what happened. Some people didn't take undergrad seriously. Some people, you know, they didn't take undergrad seriously until they realized they wanted to be psychologists, but by that time it was, you know, senior year already, or it was junior year already, whatever it happens to be, or they have not been in psychology for 20 years, but now they want to do a career change. I think it's awesome, right? The thing to remember, though, is that all of us in life have this personal fable. We have this belief that we're special somehow and that our life is special, and other people will see that it's special. But that is kind of an adolescent way of thinking. It's not really true. You'll have people, super nerds like myself, who literally have been like posturing themselves to get into grad school since like before they even went to college, right? And spent all of undergrad doing nothing but doing all of these chess moves to be able to get into their target program. You are competing with them. And if you think that you're more passionate than they are, no, you're just as passionate, right? It's an equal level of passion there, right? If not the other person being more passionate than you because they've been doing nothing, right, but doing that. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because a lot of people have it in their head that, well, it's okay that, you know, I screwed up and did this, this, and this because now I'm passionate, now I know what I want to do, and now I'll be fine. You guys know me, I'm very blunt, and the blunt answer is, I'm sorry, but that is not good enough to overcome all of the deficiencies that you have just because you decide to get serious and just because now you feel really passionate and now you're ready to go. It does not mean that the whole field has been waiting for you and now they're ready to go with you. That's not how this works, okay? And again, tough love is super hard to hear, but it's meant from a good place, right? So it's really important that we get these things for you that are the things that are actually going to overcome any weaknesses you have, and a great place to do them is during your master's years. So, Alexander, I hope that helped. I hope that everybody has a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.